This is a presentation of Northeast Streaming Sports.
He was a Giant, and he was a Cowboy. Now these two former rivals have joined forces to bring you the most insightful, perceptive, and controversial sports talk podcast in America. Former Dallas Cowboys defensive end Jim Jeffcoat locks horns with former New York Giants wide receiver Byron Williams. And now, here's Byron Williams and Jim Jeffcoat.
Good evening, Byron.
What's going on, Jim?
How are you?
It's raining, wet, and I am out of the loop.
It is cold in Texas. Well, for Texas, it's cold, not for the Northeast, but here it's cold. We've been had winter storm warnings for the last 3 days. So, and it's not a lot of snow; it's a lot of ice.
Yeah, that's what you get in. That's what you get in Texas. You don't know what kind of weather happens here. You just better be prepared. It can be in the month of December, January. Now we're in the month of February, and I can't even get home.
You're out there in Texarkana.
Absolutely.
So actually, you are home. It's just that
I'm home away from home.
In Arlington, where you have your home at.
Yeah, I'm home away from home. But that ice storm came in, and I was trying to get back Monday, and you called me and told me,
yeah,
you better stay put.
Yeah, because nobody, and you lucky you did, because if you looked at the news, obviously there were tractor trailers. So good evening.
Good evening.
So, I guess we can't give any more weather update, but
you see my hat. You see my hat right there. You see my hat?
No, I don't.
What's the hat? You can't see it?
Oh, yeah. Well, I don't really want to see it, so.
Why you always want to be a hater? And you grew up right around the corner.
Yeah, I did. Hey, let's get on to what we're here for. Let's talk about some of the things going on.
Great games.
Yeah, we'll talk about Philly and the 49ers first. The 49ers were having all kind of problems with their quarterbacks. First, they knocked out Brock Purdy.
Yeah.
And then they knocked out Josh Johnson, who is our age, Josh Johnson. He's been around that long.
He's 38 or somewhere up there, 36.
He's 36 years old. But Philly had the best record in the league, and they deserved to be in the Super Bowl. They played like the best team in the league on Sunday. In the early game, they dominated San Francisco. You can't say anything. They did. They won the game. Jalen Hurts played like the MVP of the league. He played like he was the best player in the league.
Yeah, and you know the stats that he had, he was 15 to 25 with 121 yards, and that right there just goes to show you that sometimes stats is not a reflection of the score. If you think about the way their defense played, the way the special team played, ball control, and just the opportunity, they took advantage of the opportunities. Mm-hmm. But, the game is a game of momentum, and Philadelphia was ready to play. They were ready to play.
And the crucial play is when Purdy got hurt.
Yeah.
He had a Tommy John injury to his elbow.
Right.
When he got hurt, the game was totally changed. Josh Johnson, obviously there, and obviously not having Trey Lance or Jimmy G was a detriment to the 49ers. And
absolutely. Josh Johnson only had 7 attempts with 13 throws, 7 attempts with 74 yards. He didn't even get 75 yards at the quarterback. And, with Debo Sanders and Samuel and Kittle and all those guys, that's their weapon. They just couldn't, he just wasn't even in the game plan because he like he ain't never been to practice.
Yeah. Hey, Jason, back from Cabo, I see. Jason was down in Mexico. He was down in Cabo. But, and it wasn't competitive, but for those reasons that you said, they had the weapons. And I think they took San Francisco out of the game because you saw some other unusual things. Williams getting kicked out of the game, and just they couldn't handle it. They didn't have any answer. And then Brock Purdy came back in the game, and he couldn't throw. So
Trent Williams, he bullied the week before. He bullied the Cowboys, and then he tried to do the same thing in this game, and they kicked his butt out.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's true. I think it would have been a closer game if Purdy didn't get injured, but because they were on the way, they had just scored, and then when Purdy got hit, or actually, no, Josh Johnson was in when they scored.
Yeah.
But not having a quarterback is difficult.
Not having a quarterback that you've been game preparing all week long.
Yeah.
And, throughout the time and throughout what they had to do, they had to try to run the ball more. And Philip they were just ready for everything they had to try to attempt. But absolutely, when you don't have your game time quarterback that's been preparing all week, that just threw off the whole momentum of the game for them.
Yeah. I don't think Trent Williams or the other player who got kicked out of the game will be suspended.
No, they might get fined, but they probably get fined.
They have to be fined, but I don't think there'll be a suspension from the game there. I wouldn't have put McCaffrey in. They did, but I mean, you have no passing threat with McCaffrey. I don't know what you do when you're down to a running back as your quarterback. That's a difficult thing to do as already. And I wouldn't have put him in. But who else could you put in?
Yeah, and they have that for emergency purpose only, but they never practiced with McCarthy being a quarterback. Maybe they know that he will be their third string quarterback. That's what they have in place. But for his timing and keeping the chemistry of your offense going, they weren't ready for that.
Yeah, and I noticed something interesting. When all these quarterbacks were injured, they had Trey Lance and Jimmy G on the sideline, and they were laughing. I'm like, you talk about Lamar Jackson not showing up for a game. These two are laughing while the game's going on, and they're in dire situations. So I don't know. I mean, that bothered me.
And you remember last week we talked about guys on the sideline need to be cautious of the cameras and stuff, and you're exactly right. They when the cameras was on them, they showed that where it was like an easy street of conversation. They were laughing. They wasn't even concerned about the outcome of the game or the score of the game. You know what I'm saying? Seems like to me you will be talking to the players as they come off the field, saying, "What do we need to do? What we need to do to score?" Blah blah blah. But that wasn't even happening. It seemed like with those two quarterbacks.
Exactly, it wasn't, and that did. And how can you jack him up? I mean, Jimmy G is going to be gone. Kyle Shanahan said today there's under no circumstances with Jimmy G back. Trey Lance is a young guy that with the injury, which takes 6 months to heal for Purdy, Trey Lance is going to be your starting quarterback at this time. So you can't mess with him right now. So
the way Purdy played, I would probably just build my team around Purdy because what he did, he didn't lose a game until the last when he got hurt. But man, it seemed like to me the chemistry and the way the 49ers played the last 9 games is just what you want to have.
Yeah, but the problem is the injury, regardless if you do surgery or not, takes 6 months.
But so you know what I heard? That's a baseball injury, right?
Yes.
So the injury, most people that come back from that injury is a lot better and stronger.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is 6 months from now, so that would be what? Sometime in June or really July. So he's going to miss some training camp.
OTAs?
Yeah, and OTAs. Even if he doesn't get surgery, I would get the surgery as soon as possible. And then they have an issue because now San Francisco is going to have to get a new defensive coordinator. D'Amico Ryan, as we're going to talk about a little later, went to Houston as the head coach. So we'll talk about that after we talk about the Kansas City-Cincinnati game.
And that's the one thing that you're going to have to be creative in all these teams. You're going to be challenged with reloading with the coaches, reloading with the players. and how if you was NFC divisional playoff team or wild card team, how consistently you can be at that point.
What do I need to get surgery for? What kind of surgery do I need?
He been on the bottom of the pile.
Yeah, that might be the truth, but I'm saying I'm the one I'm built to last. This weather didn't even bother me. I didn't even blink to this weather. But
you got snow tires on your car or what?
Yes, and I got all-wheel drive. But now on to the Cincinnati and Kansas City game.
Good game.
Very good game. You got two of probably the most talented quarterbacks in the NFL. I thought that Cincinnati had the advantage because they had, obviously, Mixon didn't play that much. And P. Ryan and Higgins, Boyd. And
Mixon got 19 yards on 8 carries, 19 yards.
Yeah.
And I sat there and told you Kansas City was going to win the game. You don't never listen to me, Jim. You be looking out. You be looking out.
You sound like my ex-wife. You never listen to me, Jim.
But I did call it. I had the correct team going to the Super Bowl. And I just think this is an NFC East year.
The only reason you pick Kansas City is because Moans is from Whitechapel,
White House,
Texas, and that's in East Texas. If Mahomes wasn't from White House, Texas, you would have never picked Kansas City.
And I met his dad.
Oh, shoot. Here we go.
No, but I just felt like at the end, it was going to come down to home field advantage or come down to the kick, blah, blah, blah. Because I just think, too, if Cincinnati would have got a good start in that game, it would have been a whole different case scenario because they got 4 great receivers with the tight end. They got some receivers. And Burrow, he can light it up. He can really light it up.
Yeah. I talked to their wide receiver coach today. He's interviewing for the Houston Texans offensive coordinator. His name is Troy Walters. And
I remember you saying that Troy Walters is a great coach.
Yeah, he is a great coach, and he did have some talent at that position. And that's what I thought. But Mahomes is different. He's one of those kind of guys. With that high ankle sprain, you would have anticipated him being a little less effective, but it didn't even bother him. And when he came off, I guess the painkillers or whatever he was taking wore off.
They wore off.
They wore off.
But you do have to give credit to the medical staff, the trainers. They really worked on him all week.
Mm-hmm. They did. And he what impresses me about Mahomes is when you look at it, other than Travis Kelce, there was they had the talent. They had more talent than they weren't as talented as Cincinnati. Cincinnati had more talent, with Burrows and I'm not saying Burrows is more talented than Mahomes, but those receivers and the guys that were around Burrows, you would anticipate the running backs. But one thing about I was impressed with obviously Mahomes. I was also impressed with Chris Jones.
Chris Jones had a great game. Yeah,
he really did.
He stepped up. He had his first 2 sacks in the division game.
Yeah.
AFC division games. And the other player on the opposite side is number 11 is Valdez Scantling.
Yeah, Scantling. Yeah, he played really well, and they made plays when they had to make it.
Exactly.
Here's an interesting thing that's happening. They say after the Super Bowl, the offensive coordinator is going to leave.
By enemy?
Eric Bieniemy is going to go somewhere else.
He looked like he's ready to go just by looking at him.
Yeah. And a lot of people thinks that's why he's not getting the head job because Andy Reid is calling the plays. So,
well,
I thought it was a good game, Cincinnati. Now, my question is, this is a question I have to ask you, and I can ask the peanut gallery out there too. in the fourth quarter. Joseph Asai hits Mahomes, and it was obviously out of bounds. It was a late hit. But that, I understand. That was wrong. And the kid was wrong. He should have never done that. It was a heat of the moment thing. But then his teammate, as they're walking in the locker room, calls him out and tells him, why would you do that? This is my last game. And I can't believe you, and he used choice words on it.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel about that?
Well, it's, in the heat of the moment, a lot of things happen so fast on that football field. But man, he got to realize that's one of the reasons they lost, but not the main reason they lost. And being a team player, you got to understand the consequences, and that's one of the things you have to learn. I think a lot of these young players ain't there yet for learning, making good decisions, not making bonehead decisions, and penalties is what you always preach. You're talking to your players about, do not make stupid penalties like that. If the guy's almost out of bounds, you just let up. But
I agree, yeah.
But it's just one of those times where, yeah, I'm pretty sure some of the teammates were mad at him, and of course they're at home now, and they can discuss that all in the off season. But some of those guys will not be there because some of them are free agents, some gonna get released and whatever. But yeah, and this, Jim. We talk about how hard it is to get to that Super Bowl.
You never might go that path again.
You got to keep telling your teammates, and the players got to keep that in the back of their head and their mind that you one play away and you can't make that kind of mistake.
Yeah, and I understand what you're saying. He was playing hard, and he did, and I'm not condoning his mistake. It was way out of bounds.
Right.
But to me, that wasn't the only play, like you said, that lost the game. There were other plays within that game. It should have never been in that situation.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
they say those 15 yards the 15 yards did help them get into field goal position. But there were other plays in that game. The game wasn't just played on one play.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So that's the thing.
That's why it's a team game. But you got to understand, a team game, but a mistake too is part of the equation of how you got to be consistently staying on top of what's happening,
Mm-hmm.
And those referees are there. They're going to make mistakes as well.
Yeah, and they made some mistakes.
They made a lot of mistakes.
But here's the thing. They were questioning on that play that Orlando Brown was holding the defensive end.
Mm-hmm.
I disagree with that. I think Orlando Brown was doing what offensive linemen do.
They do it all throughout the game.
They do it all throughout the game. And you can call a penalty on the majority of plays now in the NFL. So I don't think that was significant enough to call. I'm not condoning. I think the refereeing this year was the worst I've seen in years.
Quite a bit, a lot of mistakes this year. And one of the things that you have to keep in mind when you're playing in a division game, you're in the playoffs, I mean, sometimes the home field cooking is always got to be at the back of your mind.
No question. And it started really with the mayor of Cincinnati.
Yeah.
He made the mistake of calling Arrowhead Stadium Barrelhead Stadium.
Yeah.
And then he said that he was like Jerry Springer. He said DNA results prove that Patrick Mahomes is Joe Burrow's son. And I'm like, wow, did he really say that?
Because they were 3-0 against the Chiefs.
Yeah, but still you don't say that. And then Eli Apple, who has been on 3 or 4 teams.
Yep.
And he's sitting there talking. And I mean, they made him pay.
That's why you don't let your mouth overload your butt.
Yes, and then the best line was Travis Kelce when he said Jerry Springer was a way better man than you were. Or the city of Cincinnati.
Yeah.
It's the first time in 5 years both top seeds in the Super Bowl. Wow.
Yeah, I once
Good,
they
Jason.
set the agenda, I thought that was gonna happen. It's definitely gonna happen.
And this is the first time you have two black quarterbacks playing against each other in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
But it's going to be a great game. I wouldn't just give Philly.
Tell Jason what I told you. It's the first time two black quarterbacks from the state of Texas.
There's one thing that it bothers me because nobody ever talks about how Jalen Hurts and his father.
Yeah.
His father was a tremendous. I don't know that much about Patrick Mahomes' dad. I know he was a former baseball player. He played for the St. Louis Cardinals. But I know I seen Jalen as a kid and how hard he worked to get to this moment.
Absolutely.
And I'm not, I can't stand Philly, but I'm a big Jalen Hurts fan. And I'm happy, bro. I think Patrick Mahomes is probably he's probably the most gifted quarterback in the league right now.
For his capability and the ability of throwing that ball and getting it done. He made things happen. He got great instincts. He just got it all. He know the game completely, top and bottom.
Yeah. And he's got kind of a gunslinger's mentality. He's got kind of a gunslinger's mentality.
Yeah, what you doing? Loading your gun over there?
Just in case.
Just in case the producer get out of line. Hey, don't shoot nobody.
That's right. That producer messes with me.
But 23-20, man, that was a good game. And
that's how a championship game should be.
Yeah. And I want to point this out too. The yardage on the offensive side against the 49ers and the Eagles was, Jalen Hurts had 121 yards. Of course, they didn't have 100 yards on the 49ers side. But on the Bengals and the Chiefs side, Joe Burrow threw for 270. And, of course, Mahomes threw for 326. So, it's just more of a exciting game on the other side. And, of course, the receivers for the Bengals are always productive. And it was just a good, game, and it could have went either way.
Yeah, it could have. It could have. It could have went each way. I mean, it could have. It was just one or two plays that could have won or lost that game, I guess. And,
I thought the game was going to go into overtime almost, like you said.
Yeah, again,
It could have been a 20-20 going to overtime again.
It's kind of interesting because with that group, now nobody from Kansas City was requested to split. Eric Bieniemy for, I think, Indianapolis was requested for a head coaching interview, and nobody from Cincinnati had requests for, and they were for an interview. Now they've been OCs and stuff like that. I thought that was pretty fascinating. I thought that
that maybe I don't know why. Seemed like to me they will begin some interest because they've been very successful with their coaching.
Yeah, the last 2 years, and Kansas City has been there 5 years in a row.
Yeah, and one thing that Cincinnati been real consistent. They start off slow, start off losing, but they turn that ship around. Yeah,
they have.
But Zach Taylor was saying some good things too, and he about him being an ex-quarterback, and I think too, there's a couple of ex-quarterbacks that's head coaching now that's doing a good job. Yeah, but Zach been very consistent in what they're doing and how they playing in Cincinnati. So my hat's off to him.
Yeah, he was in the Canadian Football League. He played for Winnipeg.
Yeah, so he know how to get that ball out there all over the place.
Exactly.
And I played 6 years up in Canada, and I think it give you a complete mindset of how you can get the ball and create activities and create new plays in the space that's out there on that football field.
Yeah, and I agree with that. He was a quarterback in Nebraska too.
Mm-hmm. That's right,
Nebraska.
Yeah,
but more on that later. But now we'll go to a lot of things. The GOAT.
Tom Brady.
He said this is He's not going back after this.
You know, it was 2 years ago today, after they won the Super Bowl, he said he was retiring. And today they made that point that, you know, he's getting ready to sign I think he signed a big deal with the network, CBS or one of those networks. It's over $300 million.
Yeah, it was Fox. But here's something interesting about Brady.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, people don't think about this. He won 3 championships in his 20s. He won 1 in his 30s, and he won 2 in his 40s.
So what that mean?
Means there's something to win 6 championships.
I thought it was 7.
Why?
7.
Is it 7?
Yeah, because he got the 1 and he won 6 in New England, and then 1 in Tampa.
Yeah. So he must have won 3. 3, 2.
Yeah.
I guess that's what it is.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Or not 2, it'd be 1. 3 in his 20s, 1 in his 30s, and no, he couldn't have won 3 in his 40s.
I was gonna say 3 and 3 and 1.
Yeah. I don't think he won 3 in his 30s, but that's still incredible. He'll go down as one of the all-time greats, if not the great. But like you mentioned before the show, Joe Montana won 4.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, he'll go down as one of the all-time greats.
He holds every passing record you ever want to look at.
If you played till you were 45, you would too.
Well, you know, but he was still throwing 60 and 70-yard passes this year on that football field. I mean, he threw a couple of games, he was throwing the ball 60 times.
Yeah.
They didn't have no running. They didn't have no running.
That's true.
Capability. But to throw that many times at age 44, 45 years old speak volume.
And the only quarterback on Tampa Bay's roster is Kyle Trask. They only got 1 quarterback, so you know what they're looking for.
They're looking for quarterbacks. Yeah, they're looking for some offensive help.
Yeah,
sure.
You got to get a running game, and obviously they got to get a quarterback.
Yeah.
So I could see them with somebody like Jimmy G or some of these quarterbacks, Daniel Jones or somebody like that.
Yeah, exactly. I think Derek Carr made the Pro Bowl. Did you see that?
Yeah, but here's the funny thing. Did you know, and I know the Pro Bowl is not the same as it used to be, but if he got injured, then his contract's guaranteed.
Yeah.
So the Raiders were like, what?
He made the Pro Bowl.
Yeah, they didn't want him to be in the Pro Bowl.
Because he's still playing in this year's contract.
Yeah. And they haven't let him go either. They haven't given him the opportunity to negotiate with other teams.
And another thing too, Jim, is, you know, you get a bonus when you make the Pro Bowl, so they got to pay him a bonus.
That's right. The Pro Bowl is not the same. You can say what you want, but it's not the same.
I was looking at all the different case scenarios. They're gonna start doing stuff on the 2nd, which is Thursday. They start all these different contests. And yeah, it's not the same.
Yeah.
Flag football.
Yeah. And then here's the thing. It was Josh Allen. He opted out of the Pro Bowl so he could go play at Pebble Beach in a pro-am. Wow.
Josh Allen should have stayed focused on that last game he played.
That's true. But I'm just telling you.
It's, you know, but that goes to show you, you know, a lot of things happen on that football field. You know, you can talk about people going to the Super Bowl, but man, it's a hard thing to do.
Yeah, it is. And you don't never know if you'll get that opportunity again. Yeah. When I first came to the Cowboys, they had that off of 3 championship games. And it took to my 10th year in the NFL to get to my first championship game. You never know. You assume that these things are going to happen, but you never know if they're going to really happen. And you're so happy and enjoy the moment.
Yeah, and there's so many intangible things like injuries, coaching, chemistry.
Yep.
You know, just a lot of things. You know, Referees can mess up a game.
Yeah, you're right.
It's a lot of things happen.
A lot of things. So yeah, but kudos to Tom Brady. He is one of the greatest to ever play. You can say what Brown, regardless of that, he is one of the greatest.
And he's been a true ambassador of the game. You know, he's all about trying to make sure everybody around him play good as well. So his approach was, it needs to be, a lot of young players need to go in and emulate and view the way he carried himself and how he carried himself.
Yeah. Jason asked what was my favorite Super Bowl moment. My favorite Super Bowl moment was standing out there when they sing the national anthem, and they bring the F-16s over, and looking up there, we were in the Rose Bowl, and it was fully crowded. In Pasadena, and looking out there and realizing that we are really here. I think I want to say I forgot who sang it. It might have been Whitney Houston who sang it, but I mean, it was incredible to see there. You just see the atmosphere and realizing that this is being all over the world, not just the country, but the world. And that was my favorite moment, walking out there and finally getting the opportunity to play. And one of the biggest sport events in sports. And that was incredible. And when you get your feet and you put your hand in the dirt and you ready to go, it is an amazing feeling.
Absolutely. And it's everybody's watching that game.
Yeah.
Everybody's watching that game.
And the week leading up to it is incredible. I mean, celebrities are coming, and you're the biggest star in one of the Hollywood, basically, and you're like, wow. You just go, why? I mean, people trying to get your autograph, and you looking over there, and these are celebrities. You're like, oh, my autograph? I'm just a little kid from Cliffwood, New Jersey, and I'm playing with the biggest stars in the world.
That's awesome. That's a moment that's like no other.
Yeah, it's a thing that you never take for granted.
Yeah,
you never take for granted because you never know if you get that opportunity to go back. I was fortunate to do it back to back, but it is a great opportunity.
Yeah, ain't too many teams ever did it back to back. I mean, it's a handful of guys, a team, maybe 5 or 6.
Yeah, that is true. I think the Broncos did.
Broncos, the Steelers, Cowboys, 49ers.
Did the 49ers do it back to back? When?
I don't know if they did, but the Patriots, I think the Patriots got back to back.
The Patriots did.
It's not many. It's not that many.
It's real difficult. But that was something. So we got a little bit of news in the coaching. Sean Payton. Oh, excuse me. They asked you, Byron.
How did I feel? It was the coldest game of my life. It was 46 below. But going against the Bears back in that time frame wasn't awesome. That's when the Giants started turning things around. Bill Parcells, that was his second year in charge of the Giants, and you can just see that we was changing. But it was certain things that their defense was awesome that year. I got to give them credit, but our defense was awesome too. So it was battling back to back, first half almost until Sean Landeta was about to punt the ball, and the wind blew the ball all the way over a couple of yards, and they picked the ball up and ran it in for a touchdown on the punt, and that changed the momentum of the game. But yeah, that's when I knew that playing in those games like that, you're so close. Whoever won that game was gonna probably win the Super Bowl. So that was the thing that playing in that time frame was good football.
Yeah, it's interesting when I think about the Super Bowl. I think about the great Giants teams. But like you said, it's so hard to go. The 85 Bears were arguably the best, had the best statistical season on defense.
Yes.
But they never made it back.
They never made it back. And you know the other thing too, Jim, the point that they were using Refrigerator Perry as their fullback. You know, that was the first time you seen a big old guy.
Oh yeah,
get the ball.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
They did things that was kind of different. You know,
Yeah,
Buddy Ryan. You know, he did it his way.
yeah. And then the Baltimore Ravens were the same way. They had a suffocating defense, but they never made it back. And then sometimes, you know, I don't know, you got to be balanced enough to sustain that kind of success. You got to have offensive and defensive players that can make plays on a consistent basis.
Yeah, Super Bowl 57. Just think, this is the 57th Super Bowl. Yeah.
So that's something. Back to what we were talking about was Sean Payton is going to the Denver Broncos.
Yeah. He hadn't signed. He hadn't put the ink on the paper yet, I heard.
That's true. That's true.
But I heard that you know, the Saints get some first round draft choices, and he's gonna be the highest paid coach in the National Football League.
Yeah, he is $17 to $20 million a year. But here's what I'm fascinating. They're saying Vic Fangio was supposed to go to the Miami Dolphins as the highest paid coordinator in the NFL, defensive coordinator. Vic Fangio, before that, was the head coach of the Denver Broncos. Supposedly, there are rumors that Vic Fangio is negotiating with the Denver Broncos to become and be the defensive coordinator. I thought that was interesting. The team that fired you, now you're going back to them as a DC.
That right there got to be something that the new head coach won't want to put in place. Because, you know, you got to have your chemistry, you got to have your coaching staff in place, and you got to have the right people you feel like going to do a wholesome job. So that's interesting, like you said. Yeah,
it is interesting because Mike Zimmer and Sean Payton used to play golf all the time together, and I was assuming that Mike Zimmer would be his defensive coordinator.
Yeah.
So,
who you think the Arizona Cardinals gonna try to get?
I have no idea. That's pretty
Nobody's talking about Arizona Cardinals.
Nobody's talking about Arizona or Indianapolis. The only guy I heard of Indianapolis is Jeff Saturday.
Yeah, exactly.
But they're interviewing they're interviewing Aaron Glenn.
Oh, Aaron Glenn? Okay.
Yeah. They're interviewing Aaron Glenn to again for his second interview.
Oh, okay.
So that'll be interesting to see what happens.
But that's a different owner. Jim say Irsay is a different owner. So
yeah, he is. Yeah, he is. He is a different one. And it'll be interesting. Does he keep Jeff Saturday or does he go with someone else? But who else is out there that they've interviewed?
Not many.
No, because I think they didn't interview Peyton, I don't think.
No, they didn't talk about him.
Yeah. And then the Texans, obviously, their new head coach is DeMeco Ryans, who played for him.
Yeah, 6 years he played.
He played 6 years for him and everything. And he's talking about bringing Bobby Slowick. Bobby Slowick's dad was on our defensive staff when I played at the Dallas Cowboys. Bob Slowick, his dad.
Okay.
So he was, but Bobby turned out to be an offensive pass game coordinator. So this will be interesting because the last two coaches were black coaches at the Texans.
Got fired after 1 year.
They got fired after 1 year. So.
They didn't stay 12 months.
Nope. Yeah.
And Jim,
I hope they rented and not purchased a house.
I'm telling you. So they better be renting the house. So Jim, when you talk about these coaches and these coordinators and these position coaches and all these changes every year throughout the National Football League, how important it is to have those coordinators to come in and make an immediate impact with those players during the OTAs.
It's extremely important, and you saw that when you just mentioned with the Bengals. Zach Taylor has done a tremendous job, but those coordinators have, I think his name is Lou Aramdo, the defensive coordinator. And I don't know who the offensive coordinator, but they had to make an impact. And you saw the teams that had success this year. Minnesota, for Jason, the coordinators had to make a significant help with everybody. And then Miami, they obviously there. So it's important. After 1 year, they've already made some positive gains.
So, and I was just thinking about the Jets situation. It seemed like to me the coaches seemed like they did a good job, but then the players seem to be not supportive of each other.
I agree, and that's the issue you have to resolve. And out of all places to play, New York is one of the most difficult towns to play in because you got the Quentin Williams, who there's their top defensive tackle. He said he's not going to come in unless he's the highest paid defensive player. And then you had the problems with the kid from Ohio State, Wilson,
right?
The receiver, talking about the quarterback not throwing him the ball, and he's only a rookie, Garrett Wilson.
Yeah.
So you got those issues, and that's going to be the downfall for Robert Saleh if he doesn't get that under control.
He got to get that under control
because that's very unusual for young players to be that outspoken. And it's not about the team; it's about me.
Yeah.
And that can destroy your team.
Yeah, it can.
Quicker than anything else. So Wilson should be better with Peyton as a coach.
What do you think about that?
I think he will be, but Sean is going to have to. And I remember I told you that I believe that really good coaches find out what players do well and build around them. And just like you said, it might be starting Russell Wilson off with throwing short passes, little flare passes to get his confidence up before you go deep. So he feels confident before he has the deep. In the beginning of the game, you can do that. Don't take the shot. Go in there and get him some completion so he feels, hey, I'm on today, as opposed to because that's the mentality. Who would be the best? Go ahead.
Who would be one of the things I'm gonna say about Wilson and Sean Payton? I hope they get together this offseason. They spend a lot of time together. They agreed to put it and implement some of the things that they need to build their offensive.
I agree.
Yeah, so that's the key factor.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. And design it to help find what you can maximize Russell Wilson's ability. Who would be the best pick for the Vikings, DC? I haven't heard anything, Jason, honestly, on who they're looking at. Donatello didn't he struggled some this year.
Yeah.
But the problem with a lot of times is you never know what's going on in the background because they had an offensive coach. And the offensive coach might have not gave the defense enough time or enough chances to win or to establish their confidence. And sometimes, just like with a defensive coach, sometimes he doesn't give the offense enough. You got to balance it. So I'm not sure, Jason. I don't know who they're going to pick. Looking around the league, you can look at the 49ers have it. You can look at some of the Cowboys. They had a really good defense. So you look in the secondary or the front and things like that. So that might help. I don't know. I don't know who's the DC. I couldn't give you a recommendation right now.
Well, I want to say that NFC North Division with Detroit, Green Bay, the Vikings, and the Bears. That's gonna be a good division.
Yeah, because I was reading that Chicago has over $34 million in salary cap space.
Right.
So they can go get some.
They're gonna get some impact players.
But here's the thing. That's to me, you got to be careful because sometimes when you do that and go get these players, you're messing with fool's gold because some of these players are not going to. I always go back to the Galloway from New York, and that didn't work out. So you got to be careful on who you bring into your organization and what kind of person. Because I had that when I was a coach, and this player was a coach killer. I mean, they said he was a locker room lawyer, and he turned out to be that, a locker room lawyer. Got to be real careful about it. We got him in free agency.
Yeah, that's a good point, Jim. I think too, you have to really know what you're bringing into the locker room and the element and how it can affect the morale of the team.
Yeah. Now we can talk a little bit about D'Amico Ryan. D'Amico Ryan, obviously, like you said, played 6 years. He was very successful at San Francisco. He came up basically like a grad assistant and built his way up to defensive coordinator, had a very successful defense. Like you said, for him, he's a young coach. I don't know his exact age, but he's going to have 2 very good coordinators, and he's going to have a good staff. I think Houston can be a lot better because they'll have draft capital, right, and they'll be able to build that team right. I'm sure he's going to have a lot of input on the defense, and he's going to have to trust that he picks the right offensive coordinator, offensive line coach, wide receiver coach, things of that nature to give us opportunity. I think he can do it. I think you can win at Houston, the Texans.
Well, one of the things that I seen the last 2 years with the 2 coaches that they had, they were very competitive. It seemed like they had a lot of momentum towards the end of the season, and they was almost in a lot of games that they could have easily won. So I think, when they started trading some of their key players 2 or 3 years ago, it seemed like to me they was just basically in a rebuilding mode, but they also didn't know what coach that they wanted to really, bring in and have. So they had some temporary coaches in. But now, I think now you can get focused on being serious about being committed to the players and being committed to the city, and fans can know that you're going to have a good chance to have some good time in Houston.
Yeah. Now, here's my question. Chicago has, who has the first pick? Chicago, correct?
Chicago.
And then Houston has the second pick. Chicago's not going to take a quarterback. They're going to
Houston going to definitely get a quarterback first round.
But which quarterback would you take?
I would probably take, it's going to probably be Ohio State quarterback. Stroud. Yeah.
I would think he'd be able. But Bryce Young might be the most accurate. He's undersized, but he can play now.
I just don't know if Alabama have prepared their quarterbacks to come in and be an impact. I think.
Well, Tua, Matt Jones, Jalen Hurts, but he finished up at Oklahoma, so you got 3 quarterbacks.
But I just think the quarterback's better prepared coming out of Ohio State versus Alabama.
Why would you say that? Because there's only one, Justin Fields, and Justin Fields is a better athlete. He's kind of like Lamar Jackson.
And they had Barrett and those guys too, but I'm just saying the 2 quarterbacks, just compare the 2 quarterbacks that's coming out this year in this draft, I just take Strauss, and I just think he's just better prepared.
Interesting. So you're saying that Bryce Young is going to start to drop?
Well, I'm gonna tell you this. I thought Justin Fields was the guy that I liked out of that draft class, and he have shown me what he's doing in Chicago, and that was the quarterback I liked coming out of that draft.
I think Bryce Young will be a good college and a pro quarterback if he can stay away from injuries. And you have to build a way around him. He can't be a true pocket passer because of his size. He's going to have to go where he can see.
That's why you got to have these quarterbacks in the right offense, because now you got 18 weeks of football.
Yeah.
and so you only added a couple more weeks, and look how many quarterbacks got hurt this year.
That's true. That's true. That's true. But he also, I say that he got to get out, but he played against a humongous line at Alabama. So
yeah,
I think Houston's going to shock people. I think that's going to be a good deal for him.
You see the quarterback from Georgia get arrested?
Yeah, in Dallas.
In Dallas, yeah.
Yeah, was he training here?
He must have been training here, but
That's
he was out. They had a party or something. He had some drinks, and he was. I guess he was having a good time.
And he's 25 years old. You know that.
Yeah.
And that. And listen. Hello. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's crazy that I need to have my laptop with me. I didn't bring it. This phone rings all day long.
Oh
all
my goodness!
Day, every day.
Because you're Byron Williams. Everybody wants to get with Byron Williams, but
everybody talking about the Super Bowl.
Yeah. To your point, Stetson Bennett decided not to go to, he's at the Super Bowl, Senior Bowl, but he decided not to participate. I think that's a bad choice for him because he was already going to be a low draft pick. And now that makes it even worse for him because that would have been an opportunity for him to showcase his abilities.
And what these young players got to understand, decisions, off the field is just as part of the decision on the field. But the timing of when things happen, you're getting ready to go into the draft, and the next 2 months is so critical.
Yeah, that is true. That's true. And then at the Super Bowl, Roshan Johnson, who was the running back for Texas, him and Bijan Robinson were the top running backs for the University of Texas, and he was supposed to be a second-day pick. He broke his hand at the Senior Bowl. So there's some rights and wrongs in it,
Yeah,
going
absolutely.
But if you're, you can always, if you're on the top upper echelon, then it's really not, you probably won't play. But if you're trying to get to another level, then you should play the Senior Bowl.
Absolutely.
I enjoyed playing in the Senior Bowl. I just like competing. And it was a different time and day.
Well, it also adds true value to who you are, and it adds that you are really a true competitor.
Yeah.
And you like challenges, and you bring in something that you don't know who gonna see you at what point. And then also, somebody can say, man, somebody from the Cowboy Scout Department said, man, Jim Jeffcoat really is the type of player that we got a closer look at him.
Exactly.
During this time frame.
Exactly. And that's the thing. I playing at the Senior Bowl, I was in competition with Dan Marino for the MVP. We won it. But that probably cemented me being a first rounder. It is playing in the Super Bowl. So you're right.
Yeah.
Now Jason wants to know if the Cowboys are better with McCartney calling offensive plays. He better be good because he's on the clock now.
Well, he got to be good because this is gonna be his last go round.
It's no question. And what's interesting to me, they won 12 games and they fired 3 coaches off the defensive side. They fired the offensive line coach. They fired the assistant, his best friend. They fired him. And they fired some other guys. Obviously, Kellen Moore left and went to the Chargers. He better be good. He has called plays before, but he better be good because he is on the clock because that's very unusual.
The guy that he have up there in that press box, they better be making sure they on point calling those plays.
Yeah. Who would be the best pick for the Vikings DC? Vic Fangio. Vic Fangio would be the best pick.
He loved those Vikings. I forgot he loved those Vikings, and he needs to understand
the biggest issue the Vikings have is Kirk Cousins.
Well, one of the things he needs to understand, he needs to pay for my golf outing coming up.
Yeah.
When the Giants came over.
That's right. He's going to be at my golf April 3rd. He's going to be at my charity golf tournament.
Well, he need to bring me my I won against the Giants, against the Vikings. I know that.
I'm going to put you guys in the same group, and y'all can talk about it.
Well, he might win with me on his golf team because he probably can see that I can play.
Oh, he's been out in Cabo playing. You know, Jason been out there. Him and Lindsey been hitting them big balls. They've been knocking them out of the park.
Yeah, he probably good. He probably a good player. I can tell he's a good player. He likes to tight.
Yeah, Jason's a good athlete. He's a good athlete. Yeah, so. But yeah, Jimmy G to the Vikings. Oh, I don't think so, Jason. Oh, Jimmy G.
Tell him about Kirk Cousins. Tell him about Kirk.
He's a coach killer. He knows it. But where would where's Jimmy G gonna go? The Raiders?
That might be his problem.
With Tom Brady out of it, you think Jimmy G will go to the Raiders?
He might. He might go.
It makes sense.
Jimmy G still got a lot left in him, though. I got to give him credit. He can play.
Yeah, but it makes sense, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it makes sense.
It'll make sense. Or he could go, like I said, Tampa Bay or Carolina. But they can't. The general manager for
you know what?
Carolina
he might go to the Houston Texans.
He could. That's a possibility.
Because the rookie quarterback might not be ready to go yet.
That is true. That is true. You got good points now.
Yeah.
You got good points on that. But Vikings might trade Kirk Cousins to the Texans so he can kill that coach too. He's coach killer. And then they could get Jimmy G.
They ain't gonna let Kirk Cousins in the state of Texas.
We've been talking about quarterbacks. Where does Baker Mayfield end up at?
I don't know.
Does he stay with the Rams?
I don't know.
Kirk for Jimmy. He can't trade him. Jimmy is a true free agent, Jason.
Yeah. He's free to go.
Yeah, he's free to go. He has no they can't franchise him.
Yeah.
So that won't work. You're stuck with Kirk Cousins.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry, Jason. You're stuck with Kirk. We're stuck with Dak. We're just stuck with Dak, and I don't have a problem with Dak. But we better get some more receivers.
If that throw 10 interceptions, 15 interceptions, they're gonna run him up out of here.
Yeah. They're gonna extend this contract. They're talking about extending this contract. But they're doing it for financial, so they can go out and get somebody. They got somebody they're eyeing. Because Gallup had knee surgery and ankle surgery.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. So they're looking to get another receiver. And they're saying it might be T. Higgins.
You know, it kind of fell off about the receiver that Dallas wanted, from New York. O.J. Beckham.
They said they're going to look at him, Odell Beckham. Chiefs win the Super Bowl. Jason,
yeah, right.
About that next week.
No, they're not going to win the Super Bowl, Jason. I bet you again.
I'm kind of with Jason. I think the Chiefs going to win.
No, I'm going with the Eagles. NFC East. This is the NFC East year.
I know, but I'm going with the Chiefs.
Well, I know that's who you want to win, but they're not going to win.
Chiefs are going to win it.
Okay.
Mahomes magic. Hey, but we're at the end of the show. Jason, it's good to have you back in the States.
Hey, Jason, look forward to seeing you. Since you can't pick, since the Giants beat the Vikings, I'm one up on you, buddy.
All right. Hey, everybody have a good evening. Hey, it was great being here. Hey, have a good rest of the week. Stay warm.
Happy
Talk
Pro
to you
Bowl
guys
week.
later. All right.
Happy Pro Bowl. Happy Pro Bowl week.
Happy Pro Bowl week. Talk to you guys later.
Later.